I've had a couple of viewers ask me to do an update on that unknown fleet sitting off of the northern coast of Venezuela. Well, through my research, I've been able to uncover that, in fact, that might be a defensive fleet. Now, all of those vessels are located in waters claimed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, and very few have strayed out of it. Now, St. Vincent and the Grenadines stand with Venezuela. They have come out vociferously against the sanctions, against any possible invasion or military action by powers that be. We'll just leave that there. And they have felt the strain of those sanctions as well. Now, on the other side, I had mentioned yesterday morning that Venezuela is a very, very beautiful area as far as the coast goes. And some of the areas inland as well are very, very beautiful. I can't think of the name of the falls right now, but it was in the movie Up from Disney. I'm sure somebody will put it down in the comment section, or I'll probably think of it here in a few minutes. Angel Falls. Angel Falls. Gorgeous, absolutely beautiful country. But these three islands on the northern coast, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, are Dutch. And so any type of an event like this, where there would be a military incursion, would probably have to involve them to some extent. Now, oddly enough, the Netherlands have pulled F-16s out of the mission in Iraq and Syria very suspiciously. I'm wondering if they have another mission for them now. If those are quietly being brought over to the Caribbean to assist in any kind of invasion. We've clearly shown what's happening in Brazil, what's happening in Colombia. All these pieces are going to have to be put in place. Colombia, of course, has announced, I know this, well, this is actually accurate, 11,200 million, which is actually $11.2 billion expansion in their defense budget. And this is off of Info Defensa. Now, we've also seen this, that the U.S. has grounded its fleet of F-35s, so that might be putting a hiccup in any plans for this military incursion into Venezuela. But I'm going to go to marine traffic here and show you guys something. Now, when you look at this, you would think, oh my gosh, look at all of those ships. Well, the vast majority of the ships don't even have visuals on each other. It has to do with how big the oceans are and how ridiculously oversized these icons are. So, and I'm going to try to explain that for you down here when we zoom in on these unknown vessels setting off the coast of Venezuela. There's a couple of things I hadn't mentioned that I probably should have that will clear things up. Now, of course, you can see them very clearly, this tight area, all Grenadine and St. Vincent waters. And mixed in among them, you see, oh, look at all these fishing vessels. They're right on top of them. Well, let me show you something, guys. If we go ahead and we'll click out the filters, the idea, of course, that fishing vessels out here would be sitting out here with their AIS and transponders off is laughable. This is some of the busiest water in the whole hemisphere, and it would be suicide to not be transmitting your position, especially at night. So we took the tankers out, cargo vessels are gone, the blue is the passenger vessels, we'll get rid of those. And we have the fishing vessels that do have their AIS on. And of course, that leaves down here the tugs and the special craft and the high-speed craft. We'll get rid of those real quick. And that leaves us with this enormous fleet. Now, when you look at this and you see, for example, you see these two ships here? And you think, oh, they're right on top of each other. They almost look like they're docked. Well, you have to look at the legend And I'll zoom in on that. Now these are the two vessels we were talking about. Okay, now if we zoom in down here at the very bottom of the legend, I'll try to do this. I don't know if you guys can see that. It shows that about an inch or so represents 300 meters or 1,000 feet. So, and you can do this for yourself at marine traffic. These two vessels that appear to be right on top of each other are at least a minimum of 900 meters apart. 9 football fields. And here's the other thing that is kind of hard to explain too. Here, that position was received 9 hours ago. Over here, this one was also received 9 hours ago, so this is a bad example. I did this just a few minutes ago, and they had 2 ships like this, and the position reporting data was 7 or 8 hours apart. Let's see if we can find another one the same way. Okay, we've got these 2 vessels here that are nose to nose. I think this is the one that I actually chose. Okay, and once again, an inch represents, at this scale, about 200 meters. So we're talking minimum 4 football fields apart here. This one, okay, received 10 hours ago. That's where that ship was. And, okay, here we go. This one, 21 hours ago. So when we look at these 2 positions, that's not where they are right now. That's just where they were at the time. And they weren't even there at the same time. So do you get what I'm saying? That while on the global scale, this fleet is in a very, very tight formation, to each other, they're very, very far away. It's just because of this, these icons are so ridiculously large in comparison to the actual size of the ship. So when you see ships like at this zoom level, an inch represents 20 kilometers. So don't think these ships are a bunch of fishing vessels out here just randomly aiming whatever. It's just where they happened to be aimed at that time, and they're not all reporting at the same time. That's what confuses a lot of people. But once again, when you zoom out and you see actual commercial vessels, fishing vessels, cargo ships, tankers, and we'll click them back in, you can see the very different behavior. We'll put the cargo vessels back in. And here are the tankers. Now, it's critical, it's absolutely critical that these vessels maintain. It's for insurance purposes, it's for remaining legal, and just, you would be insane to turn off your AIS out here. Unless you were a military fleet that had some type of an ability to broadcast your position and ward off other vessels. Little tiny fishing boats wouldn't do this. These tankers could plow right over a fishing vessel and not even know they were there. That was the original story with the Fitzgerald and the Crystal. Back when the Fitzgerald got clobbered, the original story is that this crew of the ACX Crystal was all asleep, the ship was on autopilot, and that they clobbered a 600-foot U.S. destroyer and had no idea they did it until their ship magically lurched one way or the other, and that they went 25 or 30 minutes downrange before they figured out they'd actually hit a U.S. destroyer. Now, that's a ridiculous story, but if it's just some little 100-foot fishing boat or 20-foot fishing boat, forget it. They'll never know. They'll plow right over them. And these guys don't want to end up fish food, these fishing vessels. And like I said, if you want to see the fishing vessels, there they are. There's one here, there's one here, one here, one here, one here. And like I said, my initial thought was that perhaps this was an invasion fleet. But now that we know the waters they're in and everything else that's going on, this could very well be Venezuela's ace in the hole. this could be what's prevented an invasion of that country. This could be a mixture of Cuban, Russian, Chinese. There's a lot of countries that have sided with Venezuela in all of this. And like I said, these are not international waters. This, I wish I would have brought up Fleetmon, because Fleetmon has a thing where it delineates where all of the lines are and what is international and what's not. All of these vessels right here are inside of Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines territorial waters. They're not outside of it, which would give them certain protections. So, and I've also had a few people come and say, you know what? I live here, I live on this little island, and I have seen military vessels that I can't identify. So, we will keep you updated, but do understand that there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on now. And Venezuela, unlike what the mainstream media would have you believe, they are no joke. They're a top 40 military in the world. It's not like rolling into, Baghdad, where you see guys with tennis shoes and mismatched uniforms and boxer shorts on and ready to surrender. No, nothing like that. Nothing even remotely close to that. And if Haddad wins down in Brazil, which I think they had it set up for him to win in the first round and it failed somehow, and they are scratching their heads. You mark my words, if Haddad wins in Brazil, the game is up. Because there's no way Haddad will stand by and let Venezuela get overrun by the United States and the coalition. It just won't happen. And believe me, they have a military down there that'll have something to say about it. They are no joke. And the U.S. doesn't want a shooting war with Brazil and Venezuela. They don't want a shooting war, period. Can you imagine what would happen to the cost of everything if there was an actual shooting war that close to the Panama Canal? The insurance rates would be insane. The stock market's already tanking. You think it's going to withstand that? It's just not going to happen. The U.S. is going to have to think of some other way to do this, and that's why I think they have held off for so long. They just don't have a good answer for this. They really don't. I think they would have liked to have done this a long time ago, but for some reason, they just cannot get all the pieces put together in the right way. And I just think it goes to the inexperience and the amateurish nature that our current administration displays over and over and over again. But anyway, we will leave it there. Like, share, subscribe.